They destroyed me in front of the entire senior class, called me an abomination, stripped away my scholarship, and forced me out of the only school ID ever known because someone found out. I was gay, and 7 years later, when those same people walked into my office begging for jobs they desperately needed, I held their entire futures in my hands and had to decide whether mercy or justice mattered more. My name is Riley Ashton. I'm 25 years old. And what happened in that conference room proved that sometimes karma walks in wearing a suit and asking you to be the bigger person when they never were. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, where fitting in meant everything. I was on a roll every semester, captain of the debate team, volunteered at the library. My parents weren't rich, but supportive. I had dreams of studying law, becoming a civil rights attorney. I worked hard for those dreams, took every AP class, applied for scholarships because we couldn't afford college without them. Everything was going exactly as planned until I made one mistake. I trusted someone I thought was my friend. Her name was Bethany Crawford. We'd been friends since middle school. When I was 17, during senior year, I told Bethany something I'd been hiding my entire life. I told her I was gay, that I'd known since I was 13, that I was terrified to tell anyone. Bethany hugged me, said she supported me completely, promised it was safe with her. I believed her. That belief lasted exactly for days before she told everyone. It started with whispers, people staring, groups going quiet when I walked past. Someone spray-painted slurs on my locker. The youth pastor at our church suggested I needed counseling. My parents defended me, and we left that church. But the damage was spreading. The debate team asked me to step down as captain because some parents were uncomfortable. My scholarship interview for State University got mysteriously canceled. Teachers who'd written me glowing recommendations suddenly couldn't meet my eyes. Then Principal Douglas Hampton called me into his office. He'd been principal for 18 years, knew my family. I thought he'd help. Instead, he told me several parents had expressed concerns about my presence creating division. He said my openness was making people uncomfortable, and perhaps I should finish senior year through homeschool or transfer. I said I hadn't done anything wrong. He said perception matters as much as reality, and the perception was I was causing problems. I refused to leave. 2 weeks later, someone submitted an anonymous complaint claiming I'd made unwanted advances toward another female student. Complete fabrication. The school launched an investigation, and even though there was zero evidence, I was suspended pending investigation. I missed 2 weeks of classes right before finals. My college applications were in limbo. The scholarship I'd been counting on withdrew their offer due to concerns about character. Everything I'd worked for was disintegrating. The breaking point came at graduation. I'd finished my coursework, had grades good enough to graduate with honors. But when they read the honor roll names at the ceremony, mine was skipped. Just skipped, like I didn't exist. I sat there in my cap and gown surrounded by people who'd made my life hell, and I felt something inside me go cold. After graduation, I left Lexington. My parents wanted to fight the school, but I was so tired. I just wanted to disappear and start over. I moved to Chicago with $700. Got a job waiting tables, enrolled at community college, worked my way through an associate degree, transferred to Northwestern University on financial aid, studied business and political science. Graduated summa cum laude. Got hired by a consulting firm, worked 100-hour weeks. Proved I was better than everyone who'd underestimated me. By 25, I was a senior consultant leading major accounts, making 6 figures. Just promoted to director of strategic partnerships. The girl they'd tried to destroy had built herself into someone they could never touch. Then one Tuesday, my assistant told me I had a meeting with potential clients from a Kentucky-based manufacturing company needing consulting on restructuring. It was a significant account, potentially millions in fees. I walked into that conference room and looked up to see who we'd be working with. Sitting across the table were three people I recognized instantly. Bethany Crawford, now Bethany Morrison.Mer. Douglas Hampton, who'd retired from education and was now the company's operations director. And Pastor Michael Brennan from the church that had suggested I needed fixing. The recognition on their faces was delayed, but inevitable. Bethany went pale.Mer. Hampton's expression shifted to uncomfortable. Pastor Brennan just stared. I let the silence stretch before I smiled and said it's been a long time, hasn't it? For the next 30 minutes, they pitched their situation. Their manufacturing company was struggling, facing bankruptcy, needed restructuring to survive. They needed exactly what I specialized in. They needed me! After they finished, my colleague asked what I thought. I said I needed to review the materials and would have a recommendation by Friday. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about 17-year-old Riley being told to leave for everyone's comfort. I thought about my name being skipped at graduation. I thought about Bethany hugging me and promising my secret was safe before she destroyed me. And now these people were begging me to save their futures. I scheduled another meeting. Just me and the three of them. When they arrived Friday, I told them I'd reviewed their case. Their company was savable, barely, but it would require complete restructuring and about 18 months of intensive consulting. We could do it, but first I needed to address something. I said 7 years ago you three tried to destroy a 17-year-old girl for being gay. Bethany, you weaponized my trust.Mer. Hampton, you gave me options that weren't options. Pastor Brennan, you told my parents I needed to be fixed. You all made me believe I had no future. Now you're asking me to save yours. Do you remember what you did to me? Bethany started crying. She said she'd been 17 and scared and made a terrible mistake.Mer. Hampton said he'd been navigating an impossible situation. Pastor Brennan said his views had evolved, and he regretted the harm. They all had explanations. I let them talk. Then I said context doesn't erase harm. Your actions had consequences. I lost my scholarship, my reputation, my sense of safety. So here's what's going to happen. I said I would take your account. I would save your company because the 140 people who work there don't deserve to suffer for what you did. But my fee includes something beyond money. You're going to write letters to Lexington High School, to the Scholarship Foundation, to everyone involved, acknowledging that you participated in discrimination and destroyed a student's future. Those letters will be public record. You'll do interviews with LGBTQ advocacy organizations. You'll donate to organizations supporting LGBTQ youth. And you'll spend 18 months working with me knowing every day I am the person who holds your future, and I am choosing mercy you never showed me. The room went silent. Bethany asked if I was serious. I said completely.Mer. Hampton said this would destroy their reputations. I said welcome to what you did to me at 17. Pastor Brennan said this felt like revenge. I said no. Revenge would be rejecting your account and watching your company collapse. This is accountability. You get to survive, but you don't get to pretend the past didn't happen. They took 3 days to decide. Then they agreed. Over 18 months, I restructured their company, saved their jobs, and watched them fulfill every condition. The letters went public. Local media covered it. Some called me vindictive. Others called me a hero. I didn't care. What mattered was that 3 people who'd used their power to hurt someone powerless now understood accountability. The company survived. They kept their positions. But they did it knowing their second chance came from the person they'd tried to erase. Bethany apologized multiple times. I never fully forgave her, but I acknowledged her efforts. Mer. Hampton retired after the project, sent me a letter saying my conditions forced him to finally face his regrets. Pastor Brennan left his church, now works with the Reconciliation Ministry helping religious communities become affirming. Their transformations were real, I think, but they don't undo what was done. So here's what I want you to think about. If the people who destroyed you showed up years later desperate and powerless, what would you do? Would you help them and demand accountability like I did? Would you walk away? Would you take satisfaction in their suffering? Have you ever had power over someone who once had power over you? What did you do with it? And if you've ever made another person feel small or broken, understand that those people don't forget. Sometimes they become exactly who you said they couldn't be.